As some of you might already know, my name is Mitch and I own a small market farm in Thunder Bay, Ontario. I thought I'd make a video to share with you guys how I started, where I'm at currently, and where Brookview Farms is heading in the future. So we're gonna go way back to around 2012. This is when I first started a garden in my parents' backyard, and I got tired of my tomato plants not finishing before the frost came. So I got the idea that I would get a greenhouse. So I saved up the money and convinced my parents to let me build a greenhouse in their backyard. And I was lucky enough that after pestering them enough, they finally let me do it. In 2016, I started playing around with hydroponics and I just absolutely loved it. And I continued to grow hydroponically in the greenhouse, but it was very much just a hobby at the time. I considered maybe doing this in the future as a business, but I really had no idea how to start and I didn't know if it was really feasible. So the next year in 2017, I got a part-time job at a local greenhouse, and at this greenhouse, they were growing everything hydroponically. And I was having a lot of fun there and I learned a lot. I only worked at this greenhouse for one summer. I had another job at a warehouse and I just continued to work at that warehouse job for a while. And then over the next few years, I started being a little bit more social and stepping out of my greenhouse. So not a whole lot happened in the greenhouse. In 2020, as lots of you know, COVID happened and it kind of forced me to spend more time in my greenhouse. I kind of fell back in love with the greenhouse and the hydroponics, and I was a little bit more focused on growing plants and just enjoying the process of farming. I started getting a little bit more serious about the idea of potentially doing this full-time in the future. So I started playing around with different crops, considering ones that I could potentially grow for money in the future. And I was growing a lot of peppers because at the time in my local markets, not a whole lot of people were doing peppers. So I thought it might be a good crop to start with. In 2021, I grew a lot of different types of hot peppers. And this is when I started making some of my first sales. There was someone that approached me that I kind of knew through friends, and he was making hot sauce. So he ended up buying almost everything I grew for making his hot sauce. After this year of selling my peppers and making a little bit of money, I got super excited. Even though I barely made enough to cover the costs of growing the peppers, I actually ended up losing money, but I just thought it was a step in the right direction. So this is the year 2022 when I decided to build my second greenhouse and double production. And my idea was that I'm gonna start doing my own hot sauce and sell that hot sauce. And long story short, it didn't really work out. I had probably one of the most amazing bell pepper crops I've ever done at the time. And the growing part was really good. The hot sauce part was just another step I wasn't quite ready with. I wasn't prepared to start making sauces commercially. In the time being, I decided to just focus on growing the produce. So the next year in 2023, this is when I decided to quit my job at the warehouse and I went back working at this local greenhouse that I worked at in 2017. The owner was always super good with me and I was always excited showing him my pictures of my greenhouses and my plants. And one day he asked me, "Why aren't you at the market?" And I simply just told him that I don't have enough produce to have my own booth at the market. And he kind of realized that that was true. And he made a deal with me where he would buy all my produce, I would wholesale to him, and then he would sell it at the market for me. So this was a super awesome opportunity. So even though I was selling more at a wholesale price, which is hard to make a profit on. It just made my life easier and kind of gave me my step into the market scene. This same year, I seen how successful all my peppers were selling at the market, so I decided to step it up and build a third greenhouse. The problem was my parents were not going to allow me to build a third greenhouse in their yard. So I ended up making a deal with my sister where we would build a greenhouse on her property and I would pay for half of it, she would pay for half of it, and then when I'm done using it, the greenhouse will be hers. So the next year in 2024, my production basically doubled and the sales continued to do very well at the market. And I finally felt like I was stepping in the right direction for making this a business. Another big thing for me was I made the step of purchasing 5 acres for my future house and greenhouse business. So at this point, I realized I needed to make a little bit more money. So I decided to leave the greenhouse job and work at another job that just paid a little bit more. And I was lucky enough that I still have good relationships with the owner of the greenhouse I worked for, and he continues to buy my produce and sell it for me at the market. So over the last few years, I've really learned a lot about not just growing the plants, but about production, efficiency, and just about trying to make a profit from farming. And if you guys don't already know, it's not easy making a profit from farming. The profit margins are actually quite low. So resource management, time efficiency, and production are all things that need to be done very well to be able to actually make a profit. And right now, currently, I do make a profit on the farm. If I consider my time, I probably don't make much of a profit, but I'm heading in the right direction. I know I could grow the plants. I know I could sell them. Now I'm just working on efficiency and making the business model more profitable. So beyond just learning how to grow the plants, the business side is something totally new to me, and it's something that I need to continue to work on. So in these videos I make, I want to be really transparent about all the expenses and the sales and everything. So in the future, I'm going to try to be as transparent as I can about that. So in 2026, this is going to be a really good season, guys. I'm super excited about it. And I have a few more projects that I'm going to be working on, because what I'm trying to do here is double my production again. And this is going to be pretty difficult for me to do. I'm going to get into some different crops other than bell peppers and hot peppers, and potentially these crops will bring in higher profit margins than the bell peppers. So the next big goal for me is to hopefully have my own market booth at the farmers market by 2027. So hopefully I could ramp up production enough to be able to have my own presence at the market. And so that's the next big step. The other step that we're taking here is this property here. So this is the next really big step. And this is gonna cost me a lot of money. It's gonna take a lot of funding to get this property up and running, not with just a house, but also greenhouses and all that fun stuff. So it's gonna be a journey, and if you guys like following a journey, or if you're trying to get into market farming yourself, then this channel is gonna have a lot of updates over the years. So it's gonna be super exciting, and I'll see you guys in some other videos.